Hello and welcome to another Lamp Bible Study. My name is James and I will continue to be your host and Bible reader for Lamp Bible Study. And so again, this is another Thursday. I was super excited. Tuesdays and Thursdays are when I do the Lamp Bible Studies and make the recordings. And I was thinking about, somebody asked me, have you ever thought about doing a live, one that's live? And I said, maybe. So I might try a live sometime. But until then, I'll continue to make some videos and upload them. And so, again, thank you very much for joining Lamp Bible Study. And we are currently in the book of Joshua. Lamp Bible Study, what we do is we read the Bible and we see what the Holy Spirit, says to us about topics and items throughout the Holy Word. And we also want to continue our search for the Lord's wisdom in His holy word. So once again, thank you very much for joining me in the book of Joshua. Today we are starting in Joshua chapter 11. I'm reading from an NIV Collegiate Bible, and I will probably be going through the different versions of the Bible every time I read through. And so today has been a very busy day. There's been many thoughts about many different things. So I'm not quite sure what it all means. So let's get started, shall we? There was a few things on my mind before starting. And I can't even think of them. That's how it usually goes when you're thinking so hard about something and then you forget. So let's get started. Northern kings defeated. When Jabin, king of Hazor, heard of this, he sent word to Jobab, king of Madon, to the kings of Shimron and Akshaph, and to the northern kings who were in the mountains, in the Arabah south of Kinnereth, in the western foothills, and in Naphoth Dor on the west, to the Canaanites in the east and west, to the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, and Jebusites in the hill country, and to the Hivites below Harmon in the region of Mizpah. If you know the correct pronunciations for these, please do say them while we're reading, if you're reading along. If you know how to show them, place them in the comments section. Anything helps. But I will do my best. Let's continue to read. They came out with all their troops and a large number of horses and chariots, a huge army, as numerous as the sand on the seashore. All these kings joined forces and made camp together at the waters of Merom to fight against Israel. So where we're at is, remember, Joshua defeated or won the Battle of Jericho, There I go thinking of the song again. Joshua won the Battle of Jericho. Anyway, so, and then, that was in the previous Bible study. And then he also won some more battles against other kingdoms within the Canaanite region. And unfortunately, though, they've already had one major slip up, one slip up basically, or maybe a couple, but they've had two. One was that someone took the devoted things that were supposed to be devoted to God, and he took them for himself. And then they also had, but they were able to deal with that. But then also the fear of Israel came on a particular group, the Gibeonites, and they deceived Israel to make a pact and a treaty with them so that they would not be destroyed. So the fear of Israel is spreading throughout the Canaanite region. And so that's why we're seeing now that these kings of the different areas within the Canaanite land, which is the Israel's promised land, they're coming out against Israel and they're trying to come together. So they may have been enemies at one point, but at this point they see that their land is going to be taken from them. So they're doing what they can and doing what they think they can. And remember, these people are idol worshipers, people that do detestable things, that refuse to worship the Lord. So that's another thing that we have to think about, and especially when we consider reading the Old Testament and during the law and such, that these people that were basically, it was time for their judgment, because God, he reaches out to everybody. The Holy Spirit, you never know who's been reached. And so they have made their decision, though. They have refused to honor God. They want to worship these idols and do what they wanted to do. And so now is the time. God was fulfilling his promise to Israel by providing them with the promised land. And he was pretty much fighting their battles for them. So with these few verses in the background and the information, let's take that. So what we also like to do is do past, present, and future. So one thing in the present. This is a interesting one, because have you or someone you know do something that was for the betterment of either themselves or for the whole, and then all of a sudden some people came against you? I know, yeah. In school, when I was in school, absolutely. If you were doing something good and then people were jealous or afraid that you were going to take their glory or their prestige or whatever, what you name it, and they will plot and plan against you. And there may be more than one. Can happen at work as well. Can happen at anywhere in our lives. And so with that, have you came across, in a situation where you were, or someone that was doing something, did something good, or for instance, got a promotion, and other people were like not happy because either they wanted that promotion or they didn't like the person, and then they plotted against that person? What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them, because by this time tomorrow I will hand all of them over to Israel, slain." And I want to read this portion of it. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them." That is something that we can take as well for ourselves. The Lord repeatedly throughout the Bible says, "Do not be afraid." And we as humans have to hear that over and over and over again. Do you know why? In my mind, I can see it because we're humanistic and we have that much doubt, which means that where there's doubt, you don't have the faith. That faith is it's not strong enough because there's that doubt there. And so we have to be encouraged. We have to hear it from the Lord, and sometimes you have to see it, and that's what you have, these wonders and miracles happen all the time, especially throughout the Bible. And they happen today as well. To me, though, it shows that the Lord has to be reaffirming to us, because we are like scared little sheep. We have some wisdom, but we don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to comprehend it. And then we also need that reaffirmation because we're too afraid. We get too scared. And then things that we are too afraid of, we either don't like or make a decision not to like, or refuse to understand it. That's another thing. It's a whole nother sermon. We can talk about putting that even towards people, accepting one another, loving one another. Someone's too different. They look different. They act different. Have we, have you, have I made a judgment without actually getting to know that actual person? So you have the person on the outside, but you also have the person on the inside, how they really are. And some people do show themselves on the outside. A lot don't. So that's, I'll leave it at that for another day because there's all kinds of thoughts and feelings. It's kind of interesting how that came up in my mind. But do not be afraid of them is also an encouragement because we get scared. And so do not be afraid of them also is do not be afraid of strangers as well. People you may not know or may think differently about. So we have to already know that it's in the Lord's hands because sometimes it's for good and sometimes something sometimes you just never know. I suggest always praying about it and giving it to the Lord. That's the first thing that we should do, and that's something that they forgot to do. Joshua and Israel forgot to do, and they unfortunately got schemed from by the Gibeonites. So, but if had they went to the Lord, that may have not happened. It may have been a good thing. Either the Gibeonites would have been good, or turned good, or turned towards God, or something else would have happened. The situation would have been different. So, let's. There's a lot here. Thoughts and feelings. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? If you have any questions, concerns, comments, if you even want to say, "Oh, James, I think you're way off," leave him a comment. It's totally cool. It's totally fine. And I always say that, like, even at church, whenever or anywhere, when you're with people who want to speak and such, because when it comes to the Lord and when it comes to the Holy Spirit, where there are two or more, there I am. That's Him, as in the Lord God. And so when you're speaking it not only to another individual, but you're speaking it to God. So you're confessing your thoughts and your feelings to God. And He hears you. And He wants to communicate to us. And so whenever thoughts and feelings come up, it's okay. Even if they may be wrong or incorrect, because there's always time for correction. And that's through the Lord's wisdom right here. So no matter what, I'm comfortable with any type of comments. So do not be afraid of them. That's key and something to take note. Let's continue to read. You are to hamstring their horses and burn their chariots. So Joshua and his whole army came against them suddenly at the waters of Merom and attacked them. And the Lord gave them into the hand of Israel. They defeated them and pursued them all the way to greater Sidon, to Misrapoth, Maim, and to the valley of Mizpah on the east, until no survivors were left. Joshua did to them as the Lord had directed. He hamstrung their horses and burned their chariots. At that time, Joshua turned back and captured Hazor and put its king to the sword. Hazor had been the head of all these kingdoms. Everyone in it they put to the sword. They totally destroyed them, not sparing anything that breathed, and he burned up Hazor itself. Joshua took all these royal cities and their kings and put put them to the sword. He totally destroyed them, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded. Yet Israel did not burn any of the cities built on their mounds except Hazor, which Joshua burned. The Israelites carried off for themselves all the plunder and livestock of these cities, but all the people they put to the sword until they completely destroyed them, not sparing anything that breathed. As the Lord commanded his servant Moses, so Moses commanded Joshua, and Joshua did it. He left nothing undone, all that the Lord commanded Moses. There's something that's come to my mind again. I think I'm going to leave it until the New Testament, because when it comes to the destruction of communities and cities, and when it talks about that, a lot of people get upset because, and I brought this up in a previous Bible study, because reading it and then thinking about it, people get upset because they think that there's, how do I say, they think that there's like, that children are also, and so when it comes to that way of thinking, you have to understand everything about what the Holy Word says, because you also have to understand the time. This is coming to me. Ooh. You have to understand the time of the knowledge of good, of how it's not good. It's of acceptance, like similar to good and evil. You have to know you have to come up to an age of understanding. And some people think, okay, well, some little children understand. And Jesus puts it the best way himself. So that's why it's really, you have to understand the level of when that comes into play, and how there's the Lord's righteousness in his decision for punishment. So there's a lot there. And I'll wait to the New Test or until I feel more from the Holy Spirit. But I just wanted to stop and say something about that, because when we in our humanistic minds, we think in our own judgment manner, and we don't put everything that we can think of into perspective. When wars happen, I mean, there's currently a war going on. When a war happens, things do happen. Hospitals get bombed, schools get bombed. And so, like currently, and nowadays, remember taking the past, bringing it to the present and such. So the Lord, Jesus says, the children come to me. So there's a lot to address with that. And in this Bible study, we're going to continue to concentrate on what is happening to Joshua and how we can look at it in our life right now. And so when it comes time to more talk about those type of things, it's definitely going to happen. And I say that about different things, especially taboo subjects, because there's different parts of the Bible where we do get answers. And so that's why I kind of want to save where I can see answers, is one thing. But when the Holy Spirit speaks, he speaks to me, and whatever, if I got to say something. And so that was one of those things I wanted to say, was the time of when, because the Lord even says, Jesus even says, someone has to come, in order to come to the kingdom, they have to be like these little children. So we have to think about, there's a lot there for understanding. And so, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when we read about how Joshua just defeated Hazor and the king of these kings? What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. So Joshua took this entire land, the hill country, all the Negev, the whole region of Goshen, the western foothills, the Arabah, and the mountains of Israel with their foothills, from Mount Halak, which rises towards Seir, to Baal Gad in the valley of Lebanon, below Mount Harmon. He captured all their kings and struck them down, putting them to death. Ooh, a quick pause. Another thing is, I know I'm going back to that subject. Another thing is that we read about destruction of the civil people, right? And we think, oh, we don't know because we weren't during that time, so it doesn't necessarily. We don't know the situation completely. We don't know. We just have the information that we have, which is the truth from the Holy Word. So there's a lot to it, and like I said, we'll get to it when the time is to come. So, but let's continue. He captured all their kings and struck them down, putting them to death. Joshua waged war against all these kings for a long time, except for the Hivites living in Gibeon. Not one city made a treaty of peace with the Israelites, who took them all in battle. For it was the Lord himself who hardened their hearts to wage war against Israel, so that he might destroy them totally, exterminating them without mercy, as the Lord had commanded Moses. At that time, Joshua went and destroyed the Anakites from the hill country, from Hebron, Dibir, and Anab, from all the hill country of Judah, and from all the hill country of Israel. Joshua totally destroyed them and their towns. No Anakites were left in Israelite territory. Only in Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod did any survive. So Joshua took the entire land just as the Lord had directed Moses, and he gave it as an inheritance to Israel according to their tribal divisions. Take note of the Anakites, because I believe the Anakites, I can't remember specifically, but there's something to them. Take note of them. Okay, so let's continue to read. Then the land had rest from war. So yeah. Thank you. So Israel had rest from war once they had defeated a large part of the Canaanite region, and probably we're just taking some time, because there still had to be things going on. I would think that the Festival of Tabernacles and the Festival of, all the festivals were still having to go on. So during this time frame, they had routed pretty much a majority of Canaan, including all these different kings and kingdoms. So that's a lot. Then the land had rest from war. Now, does it also say that Joshua and the Israelites defeated everybody like they were directed to? It's a good question. And so we're going to continue to read and learn and see if that is the case. Reading just this short portion, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. List of defeated kings. These are the kings of the land whom the Israelites had defeated, and whose territory they took over east of the Jordan, from the Arnon Gorge to Mount Harmon, including all the eastern side of the Arabah. Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon. He ruled from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, from the middle of the gorge to the Jabbok River, which is the border of the Ammonites. This included half of Gilead. He also ruled over the eastern Arabah from the Sea of Kinnereth to the Sea of the Arabah, the Salt Sea, to Beth Jeshimoth, and then southward below the slopes of Pisgah. And the territory of Og, king of Bashan, one of the last of the Raphites, Raphites, or Raphites, I don't know, who reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei. He ruled over Mount Hermon, Selek, all of Bashan to the border of the people of Geshur and Makkah, and half of Gilead to the border of Sihon, king of Heshbon. Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the Israelites conquered them. And Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave their land to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh to be their possession. These are the kings of the land that Joshua and the Israelites conquered on the west side of the Jordan, from Baal Gad in the valley of Lebanon to Mount Halak, which rises toward Seir. Their lands Joshua gave as an inheritance to the tribes of Israel according to their tribal divisions: the hill country, the western foothills, the Arabah, the mountain slopes, the desert, and the Negev, the lands of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. The king of Jericho, the king of Ai, near Bethel, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, the king of Gezer, the king of Debir, the king of Gedor, the king of Hormah, the king of Arad, the king of Libnah, the king of Adullam, the king of Megiddo, the king of Bethel, the king of Tepuah, the king of Hepher, the king of Ephek, the king of Lesharon, the king of Madon, the king of Hazor, the king of Shimron, Meron, the king of Asaph, the king of Tanakh, the king of Megiddo, the king of Kadesh, the king of Jokneam in Carmel, the king of Dor in Naphoth Dor, the king of Goyim in Gilgal, the king of Tirzah. 31 kings in all. That's a lot. Lot of kings. A lot of area. A lot of kingdoms within that area. So, very important because they are recording this for themselves as for remembrance of what they did and what the Lord helped them do. And that's why they're recording it, because they don't live in today's, like, where we have a computer, they can put it in their cell phone. Okay, hold on just a second, Joshua. Let me write this down. Okay, I got Hebron and, could you imagine? Or, hey, Google, okay, we just defeated Eglon. Okay, taking note, or something. That would be like, Alexa. Alexa, another king bites the dust. You got it, Joshua. For every season, there's a time and a purpose for everything. So this, they had to have somebody, to keep note and write these things down or say them until someone wrote them down eventually. So with that, with knowing that the Lord helped them out all of these kings throughout the land of Canaan, the promised land, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Okay, let's continue to read. Land still to be taken. When Joshua was old and well advanced in years, the Lord said to him, "You are very old, and there are still very large areas of land to be taken over." I mean, the Lord's telling him, "You are very old." Remember though, Joshua was with the people as they left Egypt. So yeah, he's this is a whole new generation. So he was an adult then, and then 40 years, and then this new generation, and the years that it took to defeat all these kings in the promised land. So he was getting up there. This is the land that remains, all the regions of the Philistines and Geshurites, from the Sihor River on the east of Egypt to the territory of Ekron on the north, all of it counted as Canaanite. The territory of the 5 Philistine rulers in Gaza: Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. That of the Avites. From the south, all the land of the Canaanites, from Era of the Sidonians as far as Aphek, the region of the Amorites, the area of the Gibealites, and all Lebanon to the east, from Baal Gad below Mount Hermon to Lebo Hamath. As for all the inhabitants of the mountain regions, from Lebanon to Misrophoth Maim, that is, all the Sidonians, I myself will drive them out before the Israelites. That's the Lord speaking. Be sure to allocate this land to Israel for an inheritance, as I have instructed you, and divide it as an inheritance among the 9 tribes and half of the tribe of Manasseh. Once again, Lord's taking action himself. He just said, "Look, you got a long way to go, but guess what? I'm gonna take care of these. I got it." You're old. You need a moment. I'm timeless. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. But it just goes to show. It goes to show when you have faith, when you believe, the Lord does the work for us. The Lord, because He knows. He knows. He knows. He created us. He knows. And then He sent His Son. He knows. So all we have to do is do not be afraid. All we have to do is have faith. All we have to do is believe. It's, time and time again. If you're here reading the Bible for the first time, if you're coming through the Bible with us for the first time, I am happy that you are exploring the Holy Word with us, and I hope we can continue together. And if at any time you start feeling the Holy Word, the Holy Ghost, the Lord speaking to you, take that time, take that moment, and have a prayer. And talk to God, because He is a living God. No matter what people think, we have a living God. We have a living Lord and Savior. His name is Jesus. And I would love for you to have a conversation with Him and invite Him to you, and to understand Him and believe in Him, and have that belief and have that faith, so you too can understand that the whole book, the whole Bible is about love. It's about real love. Saving people from sin, saving people from eternal punishment. It's about love. That's what the Bible's about. It's about real love, because He loves you. He loves you. He loves me. He loves everybody. And He loves you. So just reading over these verses about how the Lord is saying, I myself will drive them out before the Israelites. He's taking care of Israel, and He Himself is making these other people leave the area. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? I know for me, it's comforting. It's comfort. It's like eating comfort food. Something that's really good. Something that, having that comfort time. That's what it is. And I know where it's from. I know it's like a big old hug of love, and it's surrounding and consuming, and makes you want to laugh and cry and just want to bask in it. And so I really do hope that we all get a chance to have that feeling, because we all do. We get it. We all get a chance to have that feeling. And so let's continue to read. Division of the land east of the Jordan. The other half of Manasseh, the Reubenites and the Gadites, had received the inheritance that Moses had given them east of the Jordan, as he, the servant of the Lord, had assigned it to them. It extended from Aror on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, and from the town in the middle of the gorge, and included the whole plateau of Medeba as far as Dibon, in all the towns of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon, out to the border of the Ammonites. It also included Gilead, the territory of the people of Geshur and Makkah, all of Mount Harmon, in all Bashan, as far as Selekah, that is, the whole kingdom of Og and Bashan, who had reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei, and had survived as one of the last of the Rephaites. Moses had defeated them and taken over their land, but the Israelites did not drive out the people of Geshur in Makkah, so they continue to live among the Israelites to this day. Oh boy, more people that weren't driven out, so the Lord already told them, drive everybody out. And if you don't, they're going to be thorns, because these people had already made their choice. They had chosen not to worship the Lord. And so they were going to continue to worship these idols, worship these things, and try to live amongst Israel, who was worshiping God. And when that happens, God knows. He's like, well, they're going to lead you astray, and we'll see what happens. But to the tribe of Levi, he gave no inheritance, since the offerings made by fire to the Lord, the God of Israel, are their inheritance, as he promised them. Remember, the tribe of Levi, they weren't going to have any land because they were dedicated to the Lord. This is what Moses had given to the tribe of Reuben, clan by clan. The territory from Aror on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, the Aroer, and from the town in the middle of the gorge, and the whole plateau past Medeba, to Heshbon and all its towns on the plateau, including Dibon, Bamoth, Baal, Beth Baal, Meon, Jahaz, Kedemoth, Mephath, Kirthaim, Sibma, Zareth, Shahar on the hill in the valley, Beth Peor, the slopes of Pisgah, and Beth Jeshimoth, all the towns on the plateau, and the entire realm of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled at Heshbon. Moses had defeated him and the Midianite chiefs Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, princes allied with Sihon, who lived in that country. In addition to those slain in battle, the Israelites had put to the sword Balaam, son of Beor, who practiced divination. The boundary of the Reubenites was the bank of the Jordan. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the Reubenites, clan by clan. So Balaam, son of Beor, I think we already talked about him, how Balaam went to Balak and tried to have, or vice versa, I can't remember which one, but I think Balaam had to go to Balak, try to curse Israel, and that didn't happen. So as you can see, Balaam was put to the sword. This is what Moses had given to the tribe of Gad, clan by clan. The territory of Jezreel, all the towns of Gilead, and half the Ammonite country as far as Aror near Rabbah, and from Heshbon to Ramoth, Mizpah, and Betanam, and from Mahanaim to the territory of Debir, and in the valley, Beth Haram, Beth Nimrah, Succoth, and Zaphon, with the rest of the realm of Sihon, king of Heshbon, the east side of the Jordan, the territory up to the end of the Sea of Kinnereth. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the Gadites, clan by clan. This is what Moses had given to the half tribe of Manasseh, that is to half the family of the descendants of Manasseh, clan by clan. The territory extending from Mahanaim and including all of Bashan, the entire realm of Og, king of Bashan, all the settlements of Jair in Bashan, 60 towns, half of Gilead and Ashtaroth and Edrei, the royal cities of Og and Bashan. This was for their descendants of Machir, son of Manasseh, for half of the sons of Machir, clan by clan. This is the inheritance Moses had given when he was in the plains of Moab across the Jordan east of Jericho. But to the tribe of Levi, Moses had given no inheritance. The Lord, the God of Israel, is their inheritance, as he promised them. So this is just kind of like a trying to remind us that these 2.5 tribes had land on the other side of the Jordan, so on the east side of Jordan instead of the west, because that's they had defeated those kings on the east side and thought the land was okay to settle, and so they asked the Lord, and they asked Moses to ask the Lord, and guess what? The Lord said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." So that expanded, made the promised land a lot larger. Did he know that this was did the Lord know that this was gonna happen? Yeah, of course he did. But that's like I said in a previous Bible study, it's okay to ask. It's okay to ask for good things. It's okay to ask for things to the Lord, and because you never know, he could just be waiting for you to acknowledge him. Could you imagine? Is it as simple as that? I'm gonna go with yes. Ask the Lord. Ask him. You would be amazed. Ask him for things. As long as you're following the way, as long as you're living in the way, and yes, we are sinners, but we can confess and we can ask for forgiveness and believe that we have been forgiven. You can ask. You can ask. Yes, you. and I. With reading that about the inheritance and the promised land and the promised inheritance and things that have been given, cup overfloweth. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Division of the land west of the Jordan. Now these are the areas the Israelites received as an inheritance in the land of Canaan, which Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of the tribal clans of Israel allotted to them. Their inheritances were assigned by lot to the 9.5 tribes, as the Lord had commanded through Moses. Moses had granted the 2.5 tribes their inheritance east of the Jordan, but had not granted the Levites an inheritance among the rest. For the sons of Joseph had become 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. The Levites received no share of the land, but only towns to live in, with pasture lands for their flocks and herds. So the Israelites divided the land just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So that's what they're doing. They've now are starting to divide the land. Hebron given to Caleb. Let's continue to read. Hebron given to Caleb. Now the men of Judah approached Joshua at Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite said to him, "You know what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, at Kadesh Barnea about you and me. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land. And I brought him back a report according to my convictions. But my brothers who went up with me made the hearts of the people melt with fear. I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. So on that day, Moses swore to me, the land on which your feet have walked will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly." So remember, back in the previous Bible study, back in Exodus, right? Late Exodus, because there was Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Oh, I have to go back. Back in the previous Bible study. Back in the they were told to go. Caleb and Joshua, remember, were to go to the into Canaanite territory, the promised land area, and bring back a report. And only 2 of them brought back a positive report, saying that they were ready, they could take it, but the other 10 did not. And so therefore that whole generation was punished because they did not have the faith, they didn't believe. And so the Lord was like, okay, please, this generation, they kept complaining. They complained about even the manna, the bread from heaven. Their clothes didn't roar, nothing. Like, the Lord was taking care of them completely, and they just complained. And then some of them brought back this and discouraging word, and so the Lord was like, okay, I'm just gonna not deal with it anymore. I'll wait till your children grow up. And so Caleb's just reminding Joshua at this point. He's like saying, hey, remember, I was with you. You know, it was us two. So my inheritance is here too in the promised land. So with what we just read, the vision of the land of the West, and now how Caleb's speaking up or reminding everybody how he was one of the 2 that had followed God and feared the Lord and had faith in the Lord the whole time. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? You know, for all of us, we have to be patient. So you ask for something, it may not come immediately. It may not come within seconds, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, days, weeks, months, years. It may be a while before it comes, before something that you ask for comes along. And we have to be patient. We have to understand patience and understand why we need to be patient. And so I believe Caleb understood that. He understood to be patient. He understood it. And now is the time for him to speak up about it, because he's been patient this whole time. Just like Joshua. So he's reminding everybody. Let's continue to read. Now then, just as the Lord promised, he has kept me alive for 45 years since the time he said this to Moses, while Israel moved about in the desert. So here I am today, 85 years old. Long time, right? I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then. Now give me this. Yeah, I'm gonna say something about that. now give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day. You yourself heard that the Anakites were there, and their cities were large and fortified. But the Lord helping me, I will drive them out just as he said. Remember the Anakites? I believe the Anakites, if I'm not mistaken, I might be mistaken, are, because I don't want to say that they're part of Amalek. Amaleks to or related. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember, but according to like Bible scholars and such, these were like really tall, like maybe not necessarily tall, but really strong people. And so I believed their height had something to do with it too, but I'm not quite sure. But so these were known, you know, to be a people that. But Caleb right here is saying, I got the Lord with me. I don't care. I care, I care, and because I have the Lord with me, but they're not gonna harm me. It says a lot about Caleb's faith, and like he just said, he waited this whole time. He's like, I don't care if I have to wait a little bit longer. That's fine. He has faith and trust in the Lord because it's going to happen, and he knows it's going to happen. It says a lot about faith. We got to look at ourselves too. You, me, myself. Do we have that type of faith? Do we have that type of patience with the faith that we know it's going to happen? We know so much that we know it's guaranteed to happen, because what God says is going to happen happens, period. So it says a lot about us, past to the present, to the future. Do your children know? Do your children understand? Do people you know? Right here. This is a good time this is a good part to share about patience and understanding and receiving that blessing. And so what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Also, he was 85 years old. And time again, these people were living a very long life, even Moses. His strength had not left him. Even though he was a more mature age, as I know I've learned my lesson by saying old people, but of a more mature age, he did not have, he was still strong and limber and walking around and doing things. A lot of these people were literally just as they were in their prime years, all the way to the death, and they just died, closed their eyes, died, right? So that's another thing that we have to look at and think about and understand. The Lord works in the way he is going to work. And that includes clothes not falling off, getting old and falling off, our bodies, because man does not live by bread alone. Our bodies, the Lord, he created us. So he has the authority at any time. You could have a broken leg, right? And a situation could happen, and you may be able to continue whatever it is, helping somebody or helping yourself, and not even know that you have a broken leg, or you have something, I'm just giving you thoughts and things to think about. And it could heal quickly. Things can heal in a faster time than what us humans are understand or have knowledge for. Why? Because we have a living God. And so that's another thing. He was 85 years old, and he was still as strong as at that day as when Moses had sent him out to go into the promised land during his prime. So he was still energy-wise and feeling-wise in his prime. Oh, this just came up. So I don't know about this. Okay, so our spirit. It's one of those things that it just came into my mind, so I'm trying to get it all together about us, our bodies, and our spirit. So I hear this time and time again. People get old and they're like, why? And I just heard it. I just heard it. So it's interesting that it's coming up now. I just heard it, and I was doing my exercise walk, and someone of a maturity said, you know, this and this and this has happened, and this, and I've all this has happened, and this has been good, and these and this and that over the years have happened, and now I'm just me. I know I'm trying not to be super specific, but because I want you to think about this, and I understand. It's almost like, because it was kind of like a lot of things have happened, and I think everything's complete, is what this person was saying. So is there still a purpose? Am I still here for a purpose? And now immediately I thought, yes, absolutely. If you have breath in your mouth, you are here for a purpose. Every single one of us. You, me, every single one of us. If you're still breathing, you have a purpose. You're here for a reason. There's so many people that feel alone, and I keep saying you're not. Even those people that don't believe in the Lord, you're not alone. Because we have a living God, and He loves each and every one of us, including you. And He's patient. He's the King of patience right there. The Lord, our God, Jesus, is the King of patience. I couldn't even imagine. And so I want to let you know that yes, every single person, if you're breathing, you have a reason why you're here, no matter what level of maturity you are. I want to say that, but I also want to say that our spirits, because of that, in physicality, in our humanistic forms, we may feel more mature. Now I'm saying it in a sense of being old. So our bodies may start to not be as good. Like instead of, you have here where he's as strong as he was 40 years ago, our human bodies, this may not happen. This may not be something that happens to us. Everybody has different blessings. And so one thing though is, even though your body is getting more mature, and I heard this from somebody too, and it took me a while to think about it, and I realized I come into an agreement with it. Majority of I come into agreement with it. Our bodies may be getting older and deteriorating, or things may be happening to them, right? Our physical bodies, but our soul should feel like it's getting younger, because it's it's yearning. And so we're gaining knowledge, we're gaining wisdom, especially in the Holy Word. We're gaining wisdom, seeking that wisdom and that purpose. And you have a purpose. You may not know what it is. We may not know what it is. I may not know what it is even myself, but we have a purpose. I believe that. And I believe that the Lord has me here for a purpose, has you here for a purpose, has us all here for a purpose. And so, if you ever get into that feeling, have some prayer, pull open the Bible and read. Think about this. Look at just even Caleb. So I'm here today, 85 years old. I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then. Now give me the hill country that the Lord promised me that day. You yourself heard then that the Anakites were there, and their cities were large and fortified, but the Lord helping me, I will drive them out just as he said. That's faith, commitment, courageous. That's all of it. I know I just went way over. I'm going way over. It's a lot. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Then Joshua blessed Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and gave him Hebron as his inheritance. So Hebron has belonged to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, ever since, because he followed the Lord, the God of Israel, wholeheartedly. Hebron used to be called Kiriath Arba after Arba, who was the greatest man among the Anakites. Then the land had rest from war. So Caleb got what he had waited for. Patience. With patience. With faith. With commitment. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Allotment for Judah. The allotment for the tribe of Judah, clan by clan, extended down to the territory of Edom, to the desert of Zin, in the extreme south. Their southern boundary started from the bay at the southern end of the Salt Sea, crossed south of Scorpion Pass, continued on to Zin, and went over to the south of Kadesh Barnea. Then it ran past Hezron up to Adar and curved around to Karka. It then passed along the Asmon and joined the Wadi of Egypt, ending at the sea. This is their southern boundary. The eastern boundary is the Salt Sea as far as the mouth of the Jordan. The northern boundary started from the bay of the sea at the mouth of the Jordan, went up to Beth Hogla, and continued north of Beth Arabah to the stone of Bohan, son of Reuben. The boundary then went up to Debir from the valley of Achor and turned north to Gilgal, which faces the pass of Admim south of the gorge. It continued along to the waters of En Shemesh and came out at En Rogel. Then it ran up the valley of Ben Hinnom along the southern slope of the Jebusit city, that is Jerusalem. From there it climbed to the top of the hill west of the Hinnom Valley, at the northern end of the valley of Rephaim. From the hilltop, the boundary headed toward the spring of the waters of Nephtoah, came out at the towns of Mount Ephron, and went down toward Bela, that is Kiriath Jearim. Then it curved westward from Bela to Mount Seir, ran along the northern slope of Mount Jearim, that is Kesalon, continued down to Beth Shemesh, and crossed to Timnah. It went to the northern slope of Ekron, turned toward Shikharon, passed along to Mount Bela, and reached Jabneel. The boundary ended at the sea. A lot of words. The western boundary is the coastline of the Great Sea. These are the boundaries around the people of Judah by their clans. In accordance with the Lord commanded him, in accordance with the Lord's commanded to him, in accordance to the Lord's command to him, Joshua gave to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, a portion in Judah, Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron. Arba was the forefather of Anak. Right, because remember the Anakites. I believe that they're tall people. From Hebron, Caleb drove out the three Anakites, Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai, descendants of Anak. From there, he marched against the people living in Debir, formerly called Kiriath Sefer. And Caleb said, I will give my daughter Asa in marriage to the man who attacks and captures Kiriath Sefer. Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's brother, took it. So Caleb gave his daughter Asa to him in marriage. One day, when she came to Othniel, she urged him to ask her father for a field. When she got off her donkey, Caleb asked her, "What can I do for you?" She replied, "Do me a special favor. Since you have given me land in the Negev, give me also springs of water." So Caleb gave her the upper and lower springs. This is the inheritance of the tribe of Judah, clan by clan. The southernmost towns of the tribe of Judah in the Negev toward the boundary of Edom were Kabzeel, Edar, Jagar, Kinna, Dimona, Adadah, Kedesh, Hazor, Ithnan, Ziph, Telem, Baaloth, Hazor, Hadattah, Kirioth, Hezron, that is Hazar, Amam, Shema, Moladah, Hazar, Geda, Heshmon, Beth Pelet, Hazar, Shual, Beersheba, Bezorthiah, Bela, Lim, is it Iam? Or, okay, Iam, Izim, El Tolad, Kasil, Horma, Ziglag, Madamana, Sansana, Laboyeth, Shilhim, Ian, and Rimmon, a total of 29 towns and their villages. Thank you for bearing with me. There's a few more. In the western foothills, Ashtaol, Zorah, Ashna, Zena, En-Genem, Tepuah Enem, Jarmuth, Adullam, Soka, Azkah, Sharim, Adithaim, and Gederah or Gederothaim, 14 towns and their villages, Zenan, Hadashah, Migdal, Gad, Deline, Mizpah, Joktheel, Lachish, Bozkath, Eglon, Kebon, Lamas, Kitlish, Kederoth, Beth Dagon, Nema, and Makkedah, 16 towns and their villages, Libnah, Ether, Ashen, Iftah, Ashna, Nizib, Keilah, Asib, and Marishah, 9 towns and their villages. Almost. Ekron and its surrounding settlements and villages west of Ekron, all that were in the vicinity of Ashdod, together with their villages, Ashdod, its surrounding settlements and villages, and Gaza, its settlements and villages, as far as the Wadi of Egypt and the coastline of the Great Sea. In the hill country, Shamir, Jatir, Zokah, Dana, Kirith, Sana, that is Debir, Anab, Eshtemoa, Enim, Goshen, Holon, and Galo, 11 towns and their villages, Arab, Duma, Ashan, Janim, Beth Tepuah, Aphekah, Humnata, Kirith Arba, that is Hebron, and Zior, 9 towns and their villages, Maon, Carmel, Ziph, Juta, Jezreel, Jokdeam, Zanoah, Cain, Gibeah, and Timnah, 10 towns and their villages, Halhul, Bethzar, Gedor, Merath, Beth Anoth, and Eltekon, 6 towns and their villages, Kirith Baal, that is Kirith Jearim, and Rabbah, 2 towns and their villages. In the desert, Beth Arba, Midian, Sakakah, Nibshan, the city of Salt, and En-Gedi, 6 towns and their villages. Judah cannot dislodge the Jebusites, who were living in Jerusalem. To this day, the Jebusites live there with the people of Judah. So, they did not, once again, another people, they did not get rid of. And as we know, the Lord said, if you don't get rid of them, they're going to be a problem to you and lead them astray. So we'll see what happens. And so let's do a quick review and over again. Northern kings defeated. So remember, a whole bunch of kings came out, and guess what? Israel routed them easily because the Lord was with them. The Lord said, do not be afraid. And that's where it all begins, with encouragement. The Lord having to repeat to us, do not be afraid. And then we went a list of defeated kings. We went through all the kings and their names, and over this whole area, all these kings reigned. And then we also went and through the land still to be taken. God said, you know what? I'm going to do you guys a favor. I'm going to do you a solid. No. The Lord was, saying, okay, it's taken a lot of time. And so I'm going to go ahead and move forward and get rid of a lot of these people for you without you having to do anything. Because that's how the Lord is. He is blessings on top of blessings. That's what he wants to do. He wants to give us blessings. He wants to give us grace. And he gives it to us freely. It's amazing. And so division of the land east of the Jordan. Remember, we talked about the 2.5 tribes had already their version of the promised land on the east side of the Jordan because they asked and they received. The Lord said yes. And then we also talked about the division of land west of the Jordan and how Caleb was with Joshua. He was one of the two that went out and survived the previous generation to become to go into the promised land. And now Caleb is getting his promised land, his promise from the Lord directly. And so then we also went from about the allotment for Judah. And so that concludes yet another Land Bible Study. Thank you so much for joining me on Land Bible Study. Before we end, what kind of thoughts or feelings come up to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Again, thank you so much for joining me on Land Bible Study. My name is James. I'll continue to be your host and Bible reader of Land Bible Study. Please continue to pray for me. I will always continue to pray for you. And these Bible studies come out every Tuesday and Thursday. If you do have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. You can check out the Instagram page as well. And so there's also an email. If you go into the YouTube page and you see the information, there's actually also an email as well. If you have any questions or concerns and such, you can definitely reach out at any time. If you want to participate in Bible reading or even participate in a live video, I may be doing the live video. I'm not quite sure when that will happen, but definitely will let you know. Be on the lookout for those flashlights because they're starting to post again. And so wherever you are, have a blessed morning, a blessed day, a blessed afternoon, a blessed evening, a blessed night. God bless.